China is starting to feel the pain from the US tariffs, but they don't want anyone to know about it. You see, while we're currently seeing China's leaders publicly say that they're willing to fight America to the bitter end, privately, things are a bit different.
Today, we're looking at TikToks that will change your perspective on life.
5,770 photographs taken on the lunar surface by the 12 astronauts.
The only proof you need to prove that the moon landings are fake is that one picture where an astronaut shadow is at 12 o'clock and a shadow from a rock 5 feet away is going at 9 o'clock.
Thank you to all the channel members for support. Let's try and get 2,000 likes again this video. It says around 60% of you guys are not subscribed, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let's go!
So Michelle Obama finally admitted it, y'all. She said it on camera. So what we not gonna do is try to spin it as if we didn't see what she did and hear what she said. The proof is in the pudding. You're gonna hear the same thing I heard, and you're gonna see the same thing I seen. I understand people make mistakes and have slip-ups, but when you and your husband keep slipping up over the years, come on now. So here's where she messed up. When she asked Marlon Wayans a question, she should have said, so you particularly as a black man, instead of saying, warms my heart, particularly as a black man. But here y'all go.
Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a black man. Would you care to share?
Now it's the stutter for me. It's like she knew she up. Am I tripping? Y'all let me know down below in the comments.
I'm not gonna lie, even if that was a slip up, the internet is gonna take that and run with it. So yeah, she's toasted.
If a plane malfunctions at 10,000 meters, the only way to avoid being blown up is to jump. So is there any chance of survival after jumping? The strongest bone in the human body is the tibia of the leg. It can withstand a pressure of 160 megapascals. A 60-kilogram person jumps straight down from a height of 1.7 meters. Without any cushioning, his tibia will break 100% of the time, not to mention falling from 10,000 meters. But the good news is when you jump from an airplane, you don't go faster and faster, because the faster you fall, the greater the air resistance. When the speed reaches 54 meters per second, air resistance and gravity are in balance. No more speed increases. Scientists call this terminal velocity. So what happens when you fall into the water at terminal velocity? If you do it properly, like a diver, wouldn't you be able to survive? Let's consider the cross-section of a human being as a circle with a radius of 0.2 meters. Through the resistance equation, we can calculate when a person touches the water at terminal velocity. The resistance of the body reaches 200,000 newtons. That's the equivalent of supporting a 20-ton iron block with your body. Unless you have the body of Iron Man, it's impossible for an ordinary body to withstand that kind of pressure. If you jumped into a thick snow, could you survive? Let's assume the snow is the right softness. When you fall into the snow at terminal velocity, the snow would have to be at least 18 meters deep to safely reduce your speed to 0. Snow this thick is not common, so if you're falling from a height, try to land on branches, snow, and haystacks that can slow you down, instead of jumping into the water.
If you bury your dead hamster, there's a chance it wasn't actually dead. You see, if your house is cold for long periods of time, your hamster's heart and breathing will slow down, and they can go into a deep sleep to conserve energy, which can make them feel stiff and cold. Now, they sometimes won't wake up from this even if you touch them, meaning there's a good chance you'll think it's dead.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Scientists are now claiming to have discovered a new color that nobody has ever seen before. Okay. So basically, this brand new color is called aloe, and you can only see it by using lasers to target a specific retinal cell known as an M cone in your eyeball. Only 5 people have been able to see this color so far by doing these tests, and they're claiming it's the most vibrant and most colorful color they've ever seen. If anybody cares about this, Sonic is now going to be giving away $1 burgers for the entire week. Also, a fun fact for everybody, I used to work at Sonic back in high school, and it was genuinely one of my favorite jobs ever because I really enjoyed making all of the drinks. The manager fired me and said it was because nobody liked me. So there's a nationwide recall and a public health alert that's issued for a pork product for possibly containing metal. They're saying that this pork was sold in popular grocery stores all across the nation, and here's a photo, and then here's all the information if you want to make sure you don't have it. The United States and the UK are now officially building rockets that travel faster than an asteroid, so that's crazy. Next, the Minecraft movie has now surged $700 million, and it's now on track to be the 60th film to ever hit $1 billion globally, so that's crazy. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
There were 5,770 photographs taken on the lunar surface by the 12 astronauts.
The only proof you need to prove that the moon landings are fake is that one picture where an astronaut shadow is at 12 o'clock and a shadow from a rock 5 feet away is going at 9 o'clock. That's impossible to happen in sunlight.
From an analytical standpoint, photographic anomalies have to be sought out with an understanding of lighting and shadows. The most straightforward is simple. When objects are lit solely by the sun, as all the scenes on the moon were said to be, after all, lighting equipment was not only impractical, it was unnecessary in bright sunlight, then all shadows, regardless of the landscape, will run parallel with one another and never intersect, as shown by this example. In these seldom seen photographs, obtained from a rarely used auxiliary NASA archival site, it is clear that these scenes were lit with artificial light. These shadows, which are cast at different angles, are evidence that a second light source is being used. In addition, the sun would not cause an isolated hotspot like this, only an artificial light would. Again, intersecting shadows and another hotspot. And again. And again. It is simply impossible for this picture to have been taken with sunlight on the moon. Here, the shadows are shown to be as black as pitch. And yet here, completely in a shadow, the astronaut is lit up like a Christmas tree. How can this be? Or this, on the shadow side of the lunar module. In this magnification of an Apollo photograph, a rock, very likely a papier-mâché prop because of the crease here, is categorized with the letter C. In later releases of the same picture, the letter is gone, probably airbrushed out. Here, a crosshair, which was burned directly into the image from the film plate, and thus should always appear on top of the objects in the photograph, appears behind the object in this scene, clearly revealing a composite of two pictures into one. Someone apparently forgot to create a burn crater underneath the lunar module's 10,000-pound thrust engine, despite the fact that during ground tests there was a real concern for the vehicle falling into the hole the engine created as it descended.
At this point, social media has 100% convinced me that the moon landing is probably fake. I'm not gonna lie. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments.
Ooh, the accidental save reload. You walk into a cafe, the clatter of a tray, the low hum of conversation, the barista calling out an order, a name you already know before she says it, a black cat dashes past your legs, and then it hits you. You have seen this before. Exactly this. You don't just recognize the moment, you remember what happens next. The man at the window will check his watch, the woman at the counter will drop her keys. In 10 seconds the door will swing open, but you already know who's coming through. Science says déjà vu is a glitch, a brain misfire, a small processing error where your mind accidentally flags the present as a past memory. And if déjà vu is just a brain error, why does it feel so eerily accurate? Some believe déjà vu isn't a glitch at all. It's proof that time isn't linear, that you've lived this moment before, that maybe you are in a loop. Or worse, you've died in another timeline. And if that's true, how many times have you already been here? Mandela effect. Reality patches while you're AFK. Let's do a test. Does Pikachu have a black tip on his tail? Think carefully. You've seen Pikachu 1,000 times. On cards and games and movies. You know what he looks like. So yes or no? If you said yes, congratulations. You've just experienced the Mandela effect. Pikachu has never had a black tip on his tail. Not in the games, not in the anime, not anywhere. And yet, millions of people swear he did. Alright, let's try another one. Does the Monopoly man wear a monocle? Of course he does. You've seen him. The rich old man with a top hat, a suit, and that little monocle over his eye. Except, he doesn't. He never has. The Mandela effect is the strange phenomenon where large groups of people all remember something one way, only to find out that it never existed like that. At least, not anymore. The name comes from Nelson Mandela. Huge numbers of people remember him dying in prison in the 1980s. They recall watching the funeral on TV, seeing the headlines, even discussing it in school, except that never happened. He was released, went on to become president of South Africa, and died in 2013. So how do millions of people share the same false memory? The official explanation is that human memory is bad. It's faulty, unreliable. A few people misremember something, then they tell others, and before long, the false memory spreads like a virus. If so many people remember things one way, but history says otherwise, what if history changed? What if these are updates to reality, small server-side patches that overwrite the past, but leave behind a few glitches? What if you just didn't get the update? Some believe this is proof that we're shifting between alternate timelines, that every so often we move into a slightly different version of reality, but our memories don't fully sync. Others think this is just bad maintenance. Reality gets patched, but the developers missed a few details. Either way, if you ever notice something changing that shouldn't be able to change, it's already too late. Missing time. The desync error. It's 3:02 p.m. You blink. Now it's 3:47 p.m. You didn't move. You didn't check your phone. You weren't distracted. But somehow 45 minutes have disappeared. The official term is highway hypnosis. When your brain zones out and drives on autopilot. It happens on long, repetitive roads. The idea is that your brain is awake, but your memory stops recording. Sounds reasonable. Except, some people experience missing time when they're not driving. They'll be sitting at home watching TV, and suddenly it's night. A person cleaning their kitchen looks up at the clock and finds an hour missing. Some say it happens when they're mid-conversation. They'll be talking to a friend, and suddenly the other person is looking at them weird, like they just stopped talking for 5 minutes. Some people say that during missing time, they get the feeling that something else was happening, but they just aren't supposed to remember. It's like someone edited the footage, trimmed down the timeline, removed the parts that didn't make the cut. Things we were never meant to see. Bystander effect. When NPCs refuse to trigger the next event, you're walking down a busy street, a person collapses, they hit the ground completely unconscious. A crowd starts forming and nobody moves. You wait for someone to help, maybe a doctor, maybe a good Samaritan, but instead everyone just stands there watching. That's the bystander effect. A bizarre glitch where the more people there are, the less likely anyone is to do something. Because everyone assumes someone else will take action. But because everyone assumes that, nobody does. And it gets weirder. There are cases where entire groups of people have just stood there watching something horrible happen even when it would have been extremely easy to help. A person choking in a restaurant, a woman being attacked in broad daylight, even a drowning child. Nobody wants to be the first to move. Nobody wants to take responsibility. It's like they're all stuck in an idle animation waiting for a main character interaction. And what if, just for a second, we consider the possibility that this isn't just human psychology? What if some people really do function like NPCs? What if some only activate when they're directly prompted? And if that's true, then the next time you're in a crowd, look around. Is everyone really playing the same game as you?
I think Pakistan and India are at war now. Like, this is literally the beginning of World War III. Like, this is actually crazy. Hopefully we don't get that far, but by the looks of it, we're like edging towards World War III.
Let me someone watch this video to the end. What is this guy talking about? This video is for entertainment purposes only. Let's go.
Let me show you all this video I just took. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly. Come on.
Alright guys, this sun right here is 93 million miles away.
It is.
Look how close I can zoom in on it.
How?
Now this is with the Nikon P900.
Okay. It's a good camera. Shh. It's not a game. Get ready.
93 million miles away.
93 million miles away? That's far. Come on!
I don't know, does that look like a burning ball of fire to you?
It does.
93 million miles away? I don't think so.
Shh. Shut up! Now, I don't know how far the sun is. You know why? Because I don't think about that when I wake up in the morning. All I know is that the sun sets and the sun rises. Stop playing with me, son. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I don't know what that guy's talking about. But if they said it was 93 million miles away, then it's 93 million miles away. Shh. Shut up! Listen, bro. Where did you get that camera from, actually? Shh. Shut up! That was a good camera. What kind of lens is that? Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game out here, guys, and you know what time is it. The sun is real far away. And it's real hot. You can't go that close to it, bro. Who told you you can? Shut up! Listen, we shouldn't be worried about things like that. The sun set, the sun rises. Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game out here, guys, and you know what time is it. But I tell you one thing. If somebody ever tells me that the sun is 93 million miles away, it is, bro. You're right. Well, I don't know if you are.
This is Dan Bell is a YouTube channel that focuses on exploring dilapidated buildings, ranging from abandoned malls, motels, and even asylums. But in 2017, while going through the New Mexico desert, they discover an abandoned truck stop next to various other buildings. So he and his team grab some equipment and make a plan to go inside and begin filming what they thought would be a great addition to their channel. But after a close call with a rattlesnake, they decide to check one more building before leaving. But soon, this adventure would turn into a nightmare for them.
Look at all the tumbleweeds. There's wood floors. Oh!
You see, walking into this building, they actually stumbled into the territory of the Africanized honeybee, otherwise known as the killer bee. And these bees are home to New Mexico and extremely dangerous, mostly due to just how aggressive they are. And Dan goes on to explain how he was stung in the head over 30 times, until thankfully they were able to get away. But if you ever catch yourself in this situation, make sure you run, and make sure you cover your neck and head, because if stung in the neck, it can cause trouble breathing. And try to put as many walls or doors in between you and the bees. Lastly, if you ever hear that low humming noise, slowly back away, because these bees don't need a reason to attack you.
What the fuck is going on with all these celebrities and their appearances, y'all? They're all changing. Look at Miley Cyrus here, y'all. In the pictures I'm showing y'all, they're not too far apart. Like I said before, I know you grow older. It's a part of life. But how can your appearance change within a month or two? Something is not adding up. What the fuck happened to Miley Cyrus, y'all? What is going on? Did I miss something? Did she get plastic surgery or some shit? Like, what is going on? You can see from her eye bones. Look like her eyes are sinking in. She went from this to this. And also, look at Demi Lovato. She went from this to this. That's a night and day difference. Do y'all see the difference? It's not one difference, it's a major difference. It's not just because she got slim. Her whole face changed. Those look like two completely different people. I might be tripping. That's why I need y'all to let me know down below in the comments. Do y'all think I'm tripping?
A lot of these celebrities like to do like work on their face and stuff. Like, you can obviously tell she probably got some sort of work done. Like, it might have not been like bone restructure or whatever the hell they began done. Maybe like a facelift or like some Botox injection. I don't know, bro.
So how is Pitbull, of all people, connected to this billion-dollar fraud scheme? Well, it all starts with this guy. His name's Jeff, and Jeff is 36 during this time, living in California, and the dude just fails at a lot of things. Like, he's had multiple businesses fail, he's behind on his mortgage, creditors are suing, he's even tried being a drug dealer, but that fails too. But then, one day in 2008, he's talking to his neighbor about solar panels. And through that conversation, he gets a legitimately good idea. What if he could bolt the solar panels to a trailer? So you'd have like a mobile power source. It would look like this, just a trailer with solar panels on it. And so he builds it using information he found on Google. And he creates a generator that's just a trailer with solar panels attached, and he applies for a patent. Like, this could be a billion-dollar idea. Here's the problem with this billion-dollar idea, though. Jeff, the ex-meth addict, doesn't really know what he's doing. He builds this mobile generator thing, and, it looks good, but it only kinda works sometimes. Like, they break down all the time if you can even get them working at all. But whatever, that isn't gonna stop him. He starts a company called DC Solar. He is gonna sell these things. And so he gets a business loan and he hires a company to market his invention. And all this works, and he starts to get a bit of traction. A couple of years later, in 2010, Jeff finally hits the jackpot. He discovers something that's going to change his entire business. A few years before this, the Bush administration had enacted a program that gives big tax credits to big corporations who invest in green energy, aka solar power and stuff. So Jeff creates a business model that allows these companies to invest in the generators he built so that they can get a tax break. And big corporations, they're greedy as hell. Like, they don't care that his janky-ass generators barely function. They just want to purchase or lease them so that the government will give them a tax credit. What that means is Jeff can continue to make a subpar product that barely works and make a ton of money off of it. And that's exactly what he does. And he gets a bunch of contracts going. And by 2011, he gets a life-changing deal. Sherwin-Williams, the huge paint company, leases $29 million worth of generators from him. And again, they don't even want the generators, they just want the tax credit. So Jeff, he doesn't have to do shit, and he just made $29 million. Now at this point, he could use some of this new money to go out and hire like a bunch of engineers to make his generators actually function. But, of course, he's not gonna do that. Instead, he goes and spends the money on some dumb shit. But we'll get to that. Now, as part of his deal with Sherwin-Williams, they get to inspect the generators for quality, which Jeff's generators, they're not gonna pass inspection. Come on, they suck. So he pulls this whole scheme where he tells his team to put the working generators at the front of the line, and they put the busted ass ones that don't work at the back of the line. So that when Sherwin-Williams inspects them, it looks like they all work great. But whatever, all these companies want is the tax credit anyway, so no one suspects Jeff is doing anything shady, and he's gonna coast on this success for a while. But here's the thing though, all this money he's making, it ends up not being enough. His shady ass business is gonna crash unless he gets more. So he turns his solar panel trailer business model into a big Ponzi scheme, where he uses the new investors' money to pay off the old investors' leases. And this works for him too. In fact, it works really well. And over the next 3 years, he sells 1,200 of his shitty generators for $150,000 a piece, making him $174 million. A lot of which feeds back into his Ponzi scheme. And by 2014, a regional bank wants to buy millions of dollars worth of generators from him. But in order to do that, he needs to fake a contract with T-Mobile. So he ends up faking a contract with T-Mobile. It's all fraud. But again, this works, and he keeps getting more and more contracts. He gets a contract with International Speedway Corporation for $150 million. He gets a contract with Geico for $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. So now Jeff's company, DC Solar, is a billion-dollar company, propped up by a Ponzi scheme based on a product that doesn't even really work. And it's all because these fucking corporations aren't looking into his product because they just want those sweet, sweet tax credits. So, what does Jeff do now that he has a billion-dollar company? Well, of course, he buys himself a bunch of shit. Of course! Like he buys a bunch of houses, like this house for $1.4 million, this house for $2.5 million, these 2 condos for almost $4 million, this whole ass apartment building for $3.5 million. Dude buys 32 properties. And not only that, he buys 150 classic and luxury cars. 150! What do you even do with that many cars? He also buys a whole ass semi-pro baseball team. He also sponsors a car in NASCAR. Like, that's his company right there, DC Solar. He also throws these crazy expensive company Christmas parties for his employees, paying top dollar for live performances. He even gets rapper-singer Pitbull to headline one of these parties. Like, here's a picture of Mr. Worldwide himself performing at one of these parties. But here's the craziest part of Jeff's scams. Even the US government falls for it. In 2016, the Transportation Secretary chooses Jeff's company for some government contract that they're working on. And I don't know how Jeff plans on pulling this scheme off, considering his generators don't really work, but I don't know, I guess he's gonna try. Regardless, bro has everyone fooled. And if that isn't bad enough, Jeff makes it even worse. He decides to start lying and faking the amount of generators he has. Because remember, when these companies buy them, they aren't checking to see if the generators work or if they even exist. They just want the tax credits. So these busted ass generators are just sitting in Jeff's warehouse, I guess. And in 2017, he only has 6,000 generators available, but he sells 17,000. So now he's selling inventory that doesn't even exist. But I guess it doesn't really matter because dude has a $1 billion company and more cars than he could ever drive, and he even has the government fooled. Until... Okay, here's the thing about Jeff and his company. Jeff obviously doesn't work alone. His company's fully staffed, like he has employees. And his employees can see that the company is selling generators, yet it has stopped building generators. So how are they selling something that doesn't exist? And at some point, one of their employees quits, and they go straight to the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, and they report Jeff and the company. So of course, the SEC starts investigating, and eventually the FBI gets involved. And in 2018, boom, a ton of federal agents swarm his company headquarters while a SWAT team busts into his home, and bam, they arrest him. Here's a picture of him in real life.
A Northern California couple pleading guilty to a massive Ponzi scheme.
So over 8 years and 34 deals, he scammed customers out of almost $1 billion. And for that, he takes a plea deal and he's sentenced to 30 years in prison. And his wife is actually involved too, and she gets sentenced to 11 years in prison. And what's crazy is one of Jeff's very last tweets is him celebrating Pitbull, of all people, playing at one of his parties.
I wonder how he got so far. Like, did no one ever decide to use the generator? So he said some work and some didn't work. So the ones that didn't work, like, no one noticed? Am I bugging?
A single bullet was fired from a rifle on a 6th floor window. First, it entered JFK's upper back and traveled downward, exiting through his throat. Then it struck the governor in the back, shattering a rib as it tore through his chest. The bullet continued, exiting the governor's chest and hitting his right wrist, breaking a bone. Finally, it lodged itself into the governor's thigh, where it stayed until removed by doctors in almost perfect condition. Now, investigators claimed that this is what happened. A single bullet caused 6 wounds while staying intact. But many argue that the bullet's trajectory is impossible. The angles just don't add up, leaving us wondering if there was actually more than one bullet.
One bullet hitting multiple people gotta be the most disgusting thing ever, because it's taking the blood from the other dude into your system. So if JFK that day had like AIDS, now that dude has AIDS. Crazy.
This is crazy. A former Bush official claims that the United States spent $21 trillion building a secret underground city. Her name is Catherine Austin Fitts, and she formerly served as Bush's Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. She says that the United States government built this in secret in case of a near extinction event for the rich and powerful. She claims that this isn't just some underground tunnel, but that this is a massive underground city across the United States with over 170 bases. She even says some are under the ocean and that they're all connected with transportation. She started researching this in 2020 and says that on her website, missingmoney.solari.com, you can go and look at the actual government financials and make a decision whether or not this is true for yourself. Now, there have been theories about this for decades, so are we finally getting the proof? As always, let me know what you think about all of this.
We need to talk about what the fuck is happening right now. This isn't just some headlines, y'all. This is regional tension. This is two nuclear powers creeping closer to something dangerous. And nobody seemed to be paying attention because everybody's stuck on a GTA 6 trailer. India just launched missiles into the Pakistan territory. 9 targets, y'all. They claimed it to be terrorist hideouts. So no jets or no troops is crossing over the line. They just sending precision airstrikes. And here's the scariest part. They had peace, but now they're both pulling that shit back. And I understand, because if I got striked, I would do the same shit, retaliate. People still thinking that modern war cannot happen, that countries will not go there, these countries. But the truth is, it's closer than anyone want to admit. One mistake, and we're not watching conflict. We're gonna be watching crisis. And before y'all even say it, this isn't fear mongering. This is just a wake-up call.
If you get into a shootout, you might think hiding behind a car door will save you, but these are made of thin metal and plastic, which a bullet can easily pass through. Instead, you should crouch behind the front wheels. This is because the rims are made of thick metal, and between them is the engine block, which is a huge chunk of iron. Even if the bullet made it through the wheel, the engine would stop it in its tracks, leaving you unharmed.
People are freaking out after realizing that one single drink can age you by half a year and destroy your brain. I'm sure a lot of you like going out on the weekend having a couple of pints or a few drinks throughout the week. Most people do. We obviously know alcohol isn't good for you. The more you drink of it, the worse it's going to be for everything about your body. I've always been told the safe limits how much is actually really bad for you, but you don't know how much is actually damaging your brain. And especially for people who drink regularly, you're going to want to tag them in the comments below or share this video with them. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania has discovered if you have 2 drinks a day, whatever they are, this will lead to brain shrinkage. While consuming over 10 units of alcohol a day can age your brain by 30 years. So what researchers are saying now is that what this evidence has shown is if you have 1 pint of beer every single day, it will shrink the brain and have the equivalent of aging half a year. Now, of course, if we look into this a bit deeper, you'd have to be drinking a lot of beer. I'm sure this wouldn't happen overnight. I'm talking you would have to be drinking a pint a day every single day for probably 50, 60 years for it to potentially have an impact. So I wouldn't worry too much, but when you're thinking about having that final drink of the night, maybe don't.
This is a true story. One day, a young couple was walking next to a river. Suddenly, the girl slipped and fell into the water. In a panic, he dove in after her, desperate to save her. As he swam deeper, he felt something wrap around his feet. He assumed it was lake weeds. Struggling wildly, he managed to break free and made his way back to shore. But when he looked around, she was gone. Crushed with guilt, he left the lake that day, unable to forgive himself for not saving her. Years passed, but the memory never left him. One day, he returned to that same lake. There, he saw an old man quietly fishing. Curious, he approached and asked, "How can you fish here? When I was here years ago, the lake was filled with thick plants." The old man looked up and said calmly, "I've been fishing here for decades, and I've never seen a single plant in this lake." In that moment, the man froze. The truth hit him like a wave. What he thought had been plants was her hair. She hadn't been trapped. She had been holding on to him, reaching for help. And in his panic, he let her go. Overcome with guilt, he collapsed on the shore, finally understanding the tragic mistake that haunted him all these years.
This is wild. 5 people just crashed into an alligator-infested swamp in the frickin' Amazon. And after surviving the crash and getting on top of their small plane which had flipped over, they kinda couldn't go anywhere. Because not only was this lake full of alligators, but they also could see an anaconda and other deadly creatures in the water. Their only hope was just to stand there and hope to get rescued, which they did for the next 2 days straight while the alligators surrounded them day and night and came within meters of their legs. And luckily, after 36 hours of standing on this plane, the 3 women, child and pilot, were spotted by a local fisherman who quickly contacted emergency rescue crews. The pilot said that he believes that petrol leaking from the plane kept the predators at bay, but that they were so tired of standing, if they had to spend another night there, they wouldn't have survived.
Nah, standing for that long is treacherous. Gladly they're safe. That reminded me of my trip that I took to Florida's most dangerous Everglades. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'm going to try to link it here if you're on a laptop or a phone. But if you don't see the pop-up, I'm gonna just link it in the comments. So check it out. It was like a really nice vlog.
Terrifying moment, a humanoid robot woke up and attacked humans inside a factory. CCTV shows the robot seemed to suddenly become aware of its surroundings and tries to break free from its restraints. It raises its arms in the air and brings them down with increasing speed and violence, appearing to move towards the 2 men. The dystopian clip ends with the handlers attempting to shut the robot down.
China is starting to feel the pain from the US tariffs, but they don't want anyone to know about it. You see, while we're currently seeing China's leaders publicly say that they're willing to fight America to the bitter end, privately, things are a bit different because Reuters is now reporting that Chinese companies importing US goods are being contacted by Chinese authorities to let them know that they don't actually have to pay those 125% tariffs they placed on America. Just some of the tariff exemptions that they're quietly making include US pharmaceuticals, microchips, ethane, and aircraft engines. We're even seeing the return of gray routing, because some Chinese exporters are now shipping their products to other countries like Malaysia or Thailand, relabeling them, and then forwarding them to the US to avoid those tariffs. And keep in mind, China has around 20 million workers involved in US-bound exports alone. And that is going to be painful because official data showed on Wednesday that Chinese factory activity has plummeted in April. This has resulted in a significant increase in worker protests, factories are closing down, and some employees' wages are not getting paid. And remember, China previously said, we have no need to talk to the United States? Well, in the last couple of days, they've slightly changed their tone, saying that they are evaluating a US offer to engage in trade negotiations.
Ever wondered how steroids actually work? No, they don't just magically make you stronger. Instead, here's what actually happens inside your body. Anabolic steroids mimic testosterone, the hormone responsible for muscle growth. Once in your bloodstream, they bind to muscle cells, telling them to grow faster and repair quicker. The result? Bigger, stronger muscles in a fraction of the time. But there's a catch, which is that steroids disrupt your body's natural balance, leading to acne, aggression, and even organ damage. That's why doctors only prescribe them for medical reasons, not for bodybuilding.
My biggest compliment I've ever received is that people think that I'm on steroids. I'm not on steroids. I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? Just naturally. Thank y'all for watching, man. If you guys like this video, check out this video. YouTube said you guys would really like this one, so check it out. Bye-bye.